Hey, what's up, guys? Welcome to Jim's Armory. I'm Jim. You might have seen my review a few weeks ago where I made the claim that this DS9-TC hybrid by Masterpiece Arms was the real Staccato killer. Well, here's a Staccato XC, and guess what? We're going to tear them both apart, piece by piece. We're going to compare them and find out definitively, once and for all, which is the better gun. So go ahead and pour yourself a drink, glass of scotch, maybe a nice glass of wine, smoke them if you got them, strap yourselves in, and let's have some fun. Let's start with the finish. Both the Staccato XC and the MPA both come with a premium finish, the Staccato being DLC or diamond like carbon, and the Masterpiece Arms is black nitride. Now these gold colored accent pieces that are steel are PVD, which is physical vapor deposition, where another metal is actually atomized into a vapor and then attached, a very thin coating, typically in colors, metallic colors like silver, gold, that sort of thing. The trigger is actually aluminum anodized, and this piece is also anodized, the magwell. I have to say in this case, I actually prefer DLC. It's a little bit tougher. It is actually a coating, whereas the black nitride, it's actually a type of surface hardening. So it's not actually a coating. It's a thermochemical surface hardening treatment where nitrogen and carbon are diffused into the steel, actually increasing wear, corrosion resistance, that sort of thing. Now it can be really tough as well and really slick and good for moving parts, but it's not quite as strong. But if you look right here, you can see some scratches already forming, and even down here on the frame from going in and out of a holster. Now, I use the same exact holster for both of these guns, and I don't see anything on the Staccato. There might be a little bit of a shiny spot here on the end where the coating could have worn off, but that could be from other things too. So, I don't know. I think in terms of the finish, I might have to say the winner would be the Staccato, simply because I think DLC is the tougher, better finish. It is actually a coating though, so bear in mind it can wear off. All right, now let's compare the slides. We'll get the slides off. So first of all, Staccato has this really cool island comp where the slide is actually cut around the sight in the barrel where the compensator is, which is pretty cool. Probably a pretty expensive way of doing it. Fits really nice. And the Masterpiece has a straight slide. So let's get the slides off, see what we're looking at. Now both guns will appear dry. I kind of cleaned them a little bit before I did this just to keep black shit from getting all over my fingers and kind of muddying up the scenery here. So please don't leave comments that my guns are dry. I know they're dry. I dried them off, damn it, for the video. So anyway, one feature that I appreciate on the Staccato is this Dawson toolless guide rod. That's really nice and convenient. But I should add that although this doesn't have one, this is a decision based on reliability. So it isn't super common, but these do wear out. And, it's probably going to happen at the worst possible time, in the middle of a match or in the middle of shooting when you didn't bring a spare. So this has the Masterpiece Arms has a one-piece guide rod with a hole, which I do prefer to the two-piece where you have the Allen nut in the front, like what comes in the Romulus, also the Stealth Arms Platypus. I prefer this. It's a little bit easier, but you do need to have, in this case, got a little piece of wire. You'll need either a paper clip or sometimes they send you a little tool. You can also cut the end off of an Allen wrench, but in any case, I don't mind that. I get why they did it. It was a decision. It wasn't a cost-cutting maneuver. All right. Now, the Staccato barrel. This is all one piece. machined from one piece. Every bit of it, except the sight obviously is dovetailed in from the side. But the comp and the barrel, all one piece. This is also DLC coated. Comparing the Masterpiece arms, this is PVD coated in gold, and this is actually a threaded on compensator with a thread locker. An industrial thread locker, high temp. I don't know for sure which one, but I did confirm with Masterpiece that it is thread locked in place. So a little bit cheaper to make this than this. Now comparing the port on the top, this one's a little bit bigger. The Staccato is a little bit smaller. Does that matter? Does it make a difference? I've shot them both, and I don't really think that it does. Now, something I always like to do is put the gun back together without the barrel and without the guide rod and just see what kind of a fit we have. You can also really tell if you have any hang up at all on the disconnector right here. You're going to feel it. So you got to come all the way back, and you can kind of feel it here in the front and in the back. Now when the gun's together, you're never going to have that happen, so that doesn't really matter. It's going to be more going forward. So that's pretty smooth, pretty glassy. You can hear that it does move. So anybody saying, oh, staccatos are tight, bullshit. There's movement there. See that? Well, let's take a look at the Masterpiece arms here. Also, a little bit of movement. Actually, not quite as much. I'm surprised. I would expect a little bit more. And a little bit of hang up on the disconnector. Now let's see what they've done under here. So this disconnector rail here is a little bit of a chamfer just on the edge. I don't know if you can pick that up from where you're sitting, but it's just a little bit of an angled cut right here. On the Staccato, it's actually kind of rounded right there. So some guns will actually have a ramp cut, or like a groove in the middle that is cut like at an angle. And you feel almost nothing on those. So it's called a Marvel cut or a Marvel ramp, named after Bob Marvel, who was a famous 1911 gunsmith. I don't know why either one of these guns don't take that same approach. The Staccato has these cool lightning cuts in the slide. I don't know why Masterpiece didn't do it. The slide is plenty heavy, so there's obviously plenty of material here to cut that out, so I don't know why they didn't. All right, well, let's get into these lowers, shall we? Now this actually has a nut on the bottom I always forget about, but I'm going to go ahead and relieve some of the pressure off of that. All right, and keep in mind that the Staccato has got a Chile grip and a Atlas trigger that's been added along with this big monstrosity of a mag well, so not really fair to compare. Staccato definitely loses when it comes to that. This is much, much bigger, better aluminum grip. But let's get a look at these internals. Let's start, actually, with the safeties. So you can see these are definitely machined parts. These are not MEM. So that's definitely a sign of quality there. And same thing with Staccato. No surprise. We knew that already. These are not MEM parts. But if you just compare them, we'll leave out the passenger side and just take a look at these. So the Staccato is a little bit narrower, a little bit smaller, a little bit less thumb room on there. It's not a large margin, but just by a little bit. And also, looking here, you can see where somebody actually took the time to fit this. This is from the Staccato, so you can see that somebody's honed that right there to fit it. So this was a hand fit thumb safety. And the same thing right here. All right, let's get the main spring housing off of here, and sear spring's going to just fall out. That's fine. Now, something else to point out, the Staccato has a small modification to it. You can see the little pin right here. I just released a video on that yesterday. By the time you see this, maybe it'll be last week, but that is to pin the grip safety, whereas the MPA comes with this modification from the factory. So this is just a dummy beaver tail. It doesn't actually function as a grip safety at all, which is great if you shoot competition or range hero. You know, you don't really want to have to mess around with that because it can be a reliability concern. Nothing really different with the sear springs, but I will add that the Staccato mine anyway, came with about a 1.5 pound trigger, whereas my MPA was a little bit over 2.5. I did lighten it. It's a little under 2 right now, so not a hard thing to do. You just kind of adjust these. I have that in several videos out there. All right, let's take a look at the internals now. Start with the hammer. That is the Staccato. This is the MPA right here. So again, a machined part, fairly light hammer, skeletonized. It's a little smaller. The Staccato is a little bit bigger, still very light. Machined also, no surprise there. All right, we're getting closer. Let's take a look at the sear and disconnector. Come on, there we go. All right, so just at a glance from the Staccato, I do see evidence of some honing on the engaging face of the sear. And I see what looks like evidence of honing here as well. So these were definitely touched by a human being. Very smooth on the top. I'm taking a look at the Masterpiece arms. Let's do a little comparison here. So these are EGW. These are probably Staccato zone, but I recognize that little curve right there. So again, evidence of honing on the surface here. Sides are very smooth as well. So is the Staccato. I'm not sure why this is discolored like this. It had some orange, kind of reddish oil kind of oozing out of it when I got it. So maybe it's just stained from that. I don't know. Again, very smooth. Kind of can see through that orangey color that there is evidence of some honing back here. So again, I think that a human being put this together, took some time making it fit nicely. All right, well next, let's get the grips off. And just look at the frame, the trigger. I think at this point, the comparison to the Staccato is not really going to matter. I don't think I'm going to take this apart because there's nothing in here anymore that's factory. It's got an aftermarket trigger and grip on it, but I do have the original grip, the original trigger, and a few other parts that are not very relevant. There's the original magwell, so far cry from that. If you're just comparing size, I mean, I think this is probably a pretty popular upgrade on this gun, I would imagine. I know I see a lot of people putting grips on it, which I think is unfortunate that, you know, you'd spend, you know, over $4,000 for a gun and then still kind of feel like you have to upgrade stuff on it. And for me, the grip and this plastic mainspring housing and the trigger were, I mean, I hated all of it. It didn't feel good to me. There's not a lot of grip. Texturing's not real strong on this. You know, I think when it really matters, you want something a little more aggressive than that. And I don't know if it would apply to this, but these things are molded. And when plastic is molded with a giant hole or a hollow spot in it like that, it can cool at slightly different rates. And a lot of times these are not round. So I don't know if that's going to be the case with this, but what can happen if these are a little bit oblong, or, you know, if the spring in the cup is able to move back and forth, it can actually kind of influence the hammer strut, because they're not ever really very tight. They kind of move back and forth. There's no reason why they shouldn't. Even on this, moves a little bit. Every gun I've ever taken apart, the hammer strut moves a little bit. You don't want anything to bind there. It should be a little bit loose. But, you know, if you've got a spring that's kind of pushing one direction and cocking the hammer the other direction, you can end up putting more pressure on your slide one way or the other. It's just not good. I don't think these should ever be plastic. I think if you want to have a plastic grip, put a metal mainspring housing in there. I think it's probably a reasonable upgrade that's not too terribly expensive, and I think will pay off in the long run. So anyway, I'm done picking on the Staccato, and we'll switch over here. This is going to be 1/16. And this will be 1/8. Whew, that is tight. Very tight. That's the tightest bushing I think I've ever encountered. Usually you can... There, I got it. There we go. Oh, that is tight. Wow, that grip is really tight. I'm going to hit it with a plastic hammer. Okay, well, that was a little bit nerve-wracking. Never like to break out the hammer. Sometimes you got to. It's really a good fit. I'm really surprised. Well, that looks like the strange 5/64 I see on some guns. Yep, it is. All right, so that grip fitment is really snug. I mean, that's really, really impressive how good that fits on there. And I wonder, they sell grips, MPA does. You can buy their grips. They're expensive, like most of them are, but it really looks really nice. I mean, it's very smooth inside, especially if you've seen my video where I put the Chile grip on. It was all boogered up where the slot here for the trigger goes. I had to clean it up quite a bit, which I didn't really like. This looks very, very nice. Very, very nice fit. Very smooth. Even this, just amazing how smooth that is. Usually it kind of, you know, grind in there. That's incredible. I'm really impressed with this grip. So I think MPA has definitely got Staccato beat when you compare this ugly plastic piece of shit to this beautiful aluminum grip. Now this is their, I guess, medium texture. They have an aggressive. They say on their site that you shouldn't get it unless you enjoy bleeding while you're training. I don't know how serious they are there, but I chickened out. I didn't get it. I kind of wish that I had, because although this is nice and aggressive, I feel like I could do with a little more. Like if you look at the Apollo, that is really, really aggressive. That's the Atlas Apollo, by the way. And then of course this Chile grip is really grippy too. And even the Platypus, Now these come in a bunch of different configurations, and I'm sure you can get them with shitty grips, but this is really aggressive also. It feels really good though. They're very tiny, so I don't think they'd make you bleed, but they really bite into your finger. So this sucks. This was really disappointing. For me, getting the Staccato with this grip and this plastic trigger, it was really, really disappointing. And I knew that they were plastic or polymer or whatever before I got it. I didn't know the trigger was. Let me make that correction. But when I got it in my hand, it just, you know, when you go pick up a $4,300 gun from your FFL, you expect the sky to open up and angels to sing, and that just didn't happen. I got it. The guy put it in my hand to, you know, check it like they do to make sure everything's okay before I, you know, transfer it. And I was just kind of underwhelmed, really. And then if you've seen my videos, you know that I had some problems with the extractor in this gun. It wasn't just too tight or needed oil or any of that bullshit. It was chewed up on the end, and it was super sharp. It was actually biting into the brass on the shells and keeping the slide from going shut. And I had to take it out of there. And sure, I could have sent it in, but why would I do that? I got to send it all the way to Texas to get this fixed. So I just fixed it myself. And it's been great ever since. Let me be clear. It's been a great gun since then, and I shoot it all the time, and I actually really love it now. In fact, I was at Rogers Shooting School. That's what this thing is on my table here a couple weeks ago. And for the entire week, I shot it almost exclusively. I don't know why. I was just shooting better with this gun. And at that point, I had had an issue with the safety being a little too tight on this gun, and it really started bothering me after several hours of shooting. It was really hurting my thumb, and a couple of times it didn't hold the slide back. I got a video on that as well. That came out about a week ago, so if you want to see that fix. Anyway, really nice trigger too, aluminum trigger shoe. This is actually made by Masterpiece Arms. The internals are EGW from what I understand. I'm not sure if the hammer is also, probably. Actually, I've got an EGW hammer right here. It looks the same. Look at that. Exactly the same. Only difference is the color. So that's definitely an EGW hammer as well. So that's fantastic. I think everybody knows EGW is among the best. So this is a Gen 2 mag release, which you can tell by the lock being way out here in the middle instead of towards the end like this one. This would be more your Gen 1 style. And they look similar otherwise. If you look at the MPA, it's kind of got a little bit of a cutout right here. And what that's doing so we expect an edge on the top. That's what keeps the magazine from falling back out. But I think this little edge is supposed to keep the magazine from over-inserting because it also positively catches on the bottom. Whereas the Staccato one does not. So going this direction, it'll just happily skim right past that. This one doesn't. It gets trapped in there almost like a magnet. It bites on. All right, well there you have it. I think that for the price, which this one was more expensive, you can get the regular DS9 hybrid without the compensator for quite a bit less. I think I paid $38.99 for this, and I believe they come in somewhere around $32, $33 somewhere. I don't remember. But I think for what you're getting, considering I paid $4,300 for this Staccato, and then I paid another, $600 and something to get a grip put on. And I did it myself. And if I had had to pay somebody to do it, it would have been easy, probably $1,000 to do that. So that's $5,300 now, plus an optic. I put an optic on this to be fair. But I think it's an exceptional value. And You know, is it better? I can't really say that it is necessarily. I think Staccato wins on the finish. I think definitely this is, I don't know if it's better. It's more expensive to make, you know, than this is, which is threaded on. But I mean, it seems just as effective to me. Staccato probably wins just based on the feel of the trigger when I got it, but this one has a great trigger now too after a little bit of an adjustment. And if I had to buy just one, and I know this is what you guys are waiting to hear right now, what do I actually think? What do you think? You see everything just like I do. I didn't take the grip off of here, but there's nothing any different really under here than there is here. Just different wording. Basically the same goddamn gun, same frame, same everything. Not exactly the same. Here's something. So the DS9 has a much better looking accessory rail. I love that. I really hate it. Now, you're never going to use these probably for anything. They just look cool as shit. I hate the single. You got one. It's practical, sure. You're probably going to put a light on it. Here's one right here. All it needs is the one groove and you're done. And, you know, you're probably never going to put a light up here. But you could. So that's just something else. Aesthetically, I think I like it better. I think the springs are about the same spring weight. The MPA says it comes with an 8-pound recoil spring. I don't remember what the Staccato comes with. I can air rack them both. That's all that really matters, guys. If you can air rack it, it's a 2011. If you can't air rack it, it's a piece of shit. You need to replace everything. All right, well, I'm going to go back together. Really impressed with this fit here. I've never seen anything quite like that. It's just perfect. I mean, if there was one little grain of dust or sand in here, you wouldn't be able to get that on. Well, all right, guys, let's see how we did. Let's look at the scorecard here. So finish, I gave that one to Staccato. The DLC finish is just better, I think, in my opinion, than Black Nitride, which isn't bad. So it's just a small margin it wins. Looks, though, I got to go with the MPA, especially considering it comes with options. You can get different color grips, different color, you know, hardware on it, different color barrels. Staccato comes in black. At least it narrows down your choices. Toolless guide rod, that one goes to Staccato. Even though the MPA may do that for reliability reasons, I just really like the toolless guide rod a lot better. Barrel and comp, I think that point goes to Staccato. Much higher quality, much better, more expensive way of doing it. Better than threaded on with thread locker. Slide tolerance surprised me. You know, a lot of these things, do they really matter? I don't know. But the point goes to MPA anyway. I was impressed. It was quite a bit tighter, a lot less movement in that slide. But Staccato's got those cool slide cuts. I like that. Now, the MPA has that as an option on the non-compensated version, just the DS9. But the DS9-TC, Tactical Comp, doesn't have that option. I don't know why. I think they missed right there. I would have paid a little more money even for that. Magwell, easily. Now, if you're looking for a carry gun, you're looking at the wrong guns. So I don't know anybody who carries an XC. Probably somebody somewhere, I'm sure, does. But that little tiny tactical magwell doesn't compare at all to the big, you know, competition magwells. Thumb safety ergonomics. This seems like a small nitpicky thing, but I know a lot of Staccato owners pay a lot of money to put like Atlas or maybe even shielded you know, thumb safeties on. So that point goes to MPA. It's a better safety. Grip safety, again, I don't really think the Staccato XC is meant as a duty gun or a home protection gun or carry gun. So I'm kind of thinking that, you know, in this class, you probably want the pinned grip safety from the factory. So the non-functional beaver tail wins. That point goes to MPA. Trigger pull, Staccato was better. They're the same now. But, you know, hey, if you're going to buy one or the other, you know, something to think about. I think the Staccato did have a lighter trigger, felt a little bit better. Now, you can make adjustments pretty easy, but, you know, if that's not you, consider that. Mainspring housing. huge pet peeve of mine. I do not like a plastic mainspring housing. Now, my Staccato has a different grip on it, and if I just went on grip alone, I couldn't give it 1 point because it's more important. So I broke the grip down into multiple components. That way I could kind of score them both. Staccato still loses on every one of those, but if I just said grip and gave it 1 point, that's not really fair because that's like 5 or 6 points. If you stack rank it by importance. So mainspring housing, plastic is shit. MPA gets the point there. Overall grip quality, the MPA can't be beat. I'm really looking at those grips hard for some other guns that I have. I think it's a phenomenal grip. It's better than the Chile. I'm interested in the more aggressive texture to see what that's like. Maybe I'll do that. If I do, you'll see it because I'll put it here on this channel. Grip texture. So again, clearly it goes to MPA. The Staccato factory grips, terrible. I think the actual shit, what's it called? This piece of shit up here. The Prodigy actually has a grippier grip than the Staccato. Trigger shoe. The Staccato came with a little shitty plastic one. MPA's got a beautiful aluminum one. You can get it in different colors. Clear winner there. Mag over insertion protection. Not a feature I'm used to evaluating on these guns, but a few have it. I think even the Kimber 2K11 has kind of a reshaped magazine well that prevents magazines from over inserting, but it also prevents higher end magazines like MBXs from being used in that gun. So I kind of like the way MPA did that. It's very clever. I wonder if it's available as an accessory for, or an upgrade for other guns. Could be a good one to look at. And then I almost overlooked it, but that accessory rail is so much sexier on the MPA. I just like it when you complete the grooves in the Picatinny accessory rail. Now, before I give the overall scores here, I want to say that I appreciate Staccato a lot. I have a lot of respect for that company, the guys that created STI. Without them, we wouldn't have this platform. We wouldn't be talking. I wouldn't have this channel probably, or maybe I'd be taking apart Glocks or something like that. So a lot of respect for that. And my Staccato is in my rotation. It's one of my favorite guns to shoot. I like it. It shoots incredibly well. It looks much better now with the grip. I'm happy with it, although I paid a lot more for it. So that said, final score, Staccato 5, MPA 12. Now, I'm going to post the list here. You take a look at it. Fill it out as you see fit. Maybe some of these things don't matter to you. Maybe you'd rather have a smaller mag well. Anyway, for what it's worth, that's what I did. Not very scientific, but hopefully at least entertaining. All right, thanks. Please subscribe, support my channel, support the 2A community, support all my fellow gun tubers out there. We could use the help. Have a good one. See you soon. Shit. There it is.